You are now listening to the Sporting Experience Podcast.
Don't blush, baby.
G'day guys, welcome to episode 1 of the Sporting Experience Podcast. In this podcast series, we'll be delving into the lives of professional athletes, semi-professional athletes, and even amateur athletes. So no matter what level of sport they play, we want to hear their sporting experiences. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show because we have plenty of stories to delve into. On today's episode, we have ex-New South Wales and Sydney Thunder player, Jay Lenton. Today we talk about Jay's childhood, how he got into cricket, the impact Phil Hughes made on the cricketing world, and what it's like to play with the absolute superstars of the game. Had a really good chat with Jay. I thoroughly enjoyed it. He's a ripper of a bloke, so I hope you guys enjoy it too. Enjoy the podcast. And welcome to episode 1 of the Sporting Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, and I'm joined here by a very special guest for episode number 1, a cricketer. Cricket is very close to my heart, probably my favourite sport, that in rugby league. Jay Lenton. He's played for Sydney Thunder, he's played for New South Wales, played some first-class games. For Sydney Thunder, 20 matches, 131 runs with a high score of 21. Not a very good average there, but nonetheless, Jay Lenton, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Look, I batted at 8. That's my excuse for the Thunder anyway.
I think that's what I got on my notes. I think that's what you said last time. Averaging pretty poorly, but batting at number 7 or 8. So the 30 matches you're there as a keeper, I guess. So
exactly.
So starting with this, 20 matches for the Thunder, 131 runs. You've actually come off a really good season in grade cricket, 1,103 runs with an average of 40. That's part of the My Cricket results. That's got some Newcastle T20 games, I think.
It does, mate. It's got a sneaky 100 in a Newcastle T20 game in there. So I think I also got out in a couple of those games, and I played in Canberra as well. So if you just look at the Manly stats, it's a little bit better.
Yeah, I feel like you've had a really good season. Do you have any aspirations to go higher?
Look, I'm 30 now, so 30 is pretty old in cricket terms, apparently. I certainly did have aspirations, and I managed to make New South Wales, obviously playing first-class cricket for New South Wales, playing for the Thunder, and playing one-day cricket for New South Wales as well. So I must say I'm certainly very proud of my achievements in cricket. I'll never kind of stop dreaming about playing back up there again, but I do also understand that there's a couple of young bucks coming through, and 30's a little bit old, especially now watching the Olympics when there's 13-year-olds winning gold medals. It makes me feel extremely old.
Do you feel like you're at the top of your game, though? Like, I feel like watching you over the past few seasons, you've been really consistent this season compared to others. Like, you scored, 3 tons in a row leading into the finals?
Yeah, this year was actually my first full year of cricket at Manly. So that I've been at Manly now for 5-6 seasons, and this is the first time I've actually played every game for Manly, purely been in and out of Thunder squads, Blues squads, whatever that might be in the last couple of years. So yeah, I certainly felt that this year was probably one of my better years at grade cricket. Also captain of Manly, so that puts a little bit more, not an added pressure, but something that I really like to tackle front on and lead from the front a little bit. And we've got some high-quality players at Manly. Obviously, we've got the Edwards boys, Ollie Davies, Stephen O'Keefe, Mornay Morkel had a little dabble for us this year. So just when those guys kind of leave for Big Bash, I always knew that when I left for Big Bash, I wasn't necessarily leaving a hole, but it's certainly a different side when you lose 4 or 5 of you guys that play consistently. So that was my goal this year, was to really step up during that time.
I noticed you missed out a key name there, Ryan Hadley.
Yeah, I did. Look, Hads was going to be mentioned later in this little episode because I know how close you guys are and we all are. So, look, Hads is one of the better up and coming bowlers going around. We will talk some praise for a little bit for him. He'll play first class cricket, and then in the next couple of years, he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's matured a lot. He's bowling fast, so we do like to take the piss out of him a little bit, and I'm sure we will. But on a serious note, he certainly will go pretty high in cricket, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's got that mindset that just a champion has. We disagree on a lot of things, but everything we disagree on, he's got his head screwed on. Like he's not unreasonable. And I guess we're not here to talk about Ryan Hadley. We're here to talk about you. So I want to start with, how was your childhood? How was growing up? Where'd you grow up? And tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I'm from the Central Coast, just north of Sydney, about 90 minutes north of Sydney and 90 minutes north of where I'm living now, down in the Northern Beaches. I grew up as a swimmer, actually. So currently sitting here, if you see me, you see my eyes just sneaking a little bit. That's me watching the 4x200 relay at the moment. So I was a swimmer for the first kind of 10 to 12 years of my life. My dad's a level 3 swim coach. He's a surf life saving coach as well. So he kind of delved in the Kai Hursts of the world. He had a little bit to do with Grant Hackett around the time of the Sydney Olympics. So that's where my background was. And I was a pretty good swimmer. Won a few national titles as a kid. I know it's only kind of that 8, 9, 10 years of age, but that was, I guess, what I thought I was going to do. And swimming's quite a young sport. So at that stage, I thought I was going to be a swimmer. Things happen in life, and my parents split up when I was 8. And a couple of years of living with mum, still swimming, but living with mum. And then mum met my stepdad, who played cricket. So my brother kind of got into cricket. He and I just followed him down. My brother's 6 years older than I am. I went down to a couple of his training sessions, and as you do as the younger brother, try and always play above your average and play above your age a little bit and try and show off as a kid. And I think I joined a fielding session with, it might have been his under 15s or under 16s teams, one of his last years of junior cricket. And I joined a fielding session and took a couple of good catches and kind of got the attention of a couple of people just mucking around. And I guess that's where my love for cricket came, because I felt like I had something half decent there. And then jumped in and joined a cricket club straight after that. So that's probably my early stage of my childhood. Played first grade cricket on the Central Coast for a team called Toukley when I was 13. So I debuted when I was 13. I thought that was pretty good for a 13-year-old, but the two skaters that have just won gold, that's definitely outshone me as a 13-year-old. And then kind of played 4 years of grade cricket on the Central Coast. Played representative junior cricket for the Central Coast, but I never made a 17s or a 19s Central Coast open side, which didn't deter me, but it kind of, I guess it brought me back from the pack a little bit and made me think that maybe I couldn't make it in men's cricket after playing men's cricket for so long. I was 17. I'd had 4 years experience playing men's cricket. So I kind of thought to myself, maybe I'm not that good, or not as good as what kind of people put some impressions in your head because you are the kid that's playing first grade cricket. So I played a Sydney North, I think it used to be called, it might still be called Sydney North PWSA schools comp in year 12. Year 11. You can't play when you're in year 12, but year 11. And one of the kids I played with, his old man, Doug Cole, was from North Sydney Cricket Club down here in Sydney. So the Central Coast kind of half and half with the northern end of the Sydney schools. And he just said, look, come down and have a crack in Sydney, see how you go. Well, North Sydney notoriously probably wasn't the greatest club. So it gave me a little bit of an opportunity to play a higher grade, I guess you could say. Not saying that they're not a good club. They've certainly turned things around and certainly had some great times there. But so I started in second grade for North Sydney when I was 18. Made the move to play in Sydney when I was 18. Didn't move to Sydney though. Stayed on the coast. Worked at a golf course up on the coast just as a bit of part-time stuff. And I was doing some uni work down here at ACPE in Sydney as well. So yeah, I guess that's bit of a long-winded childhood till I turned into an adult at 18.
Well, I guess you answered my next question. What got you into cricket? And you explained everything on from there. So, I know you said people noticed you when you went to North Sydney because someone noticed you. Were you actually were you any good on the stats? Like, did you score hundreds? Were you a bowler even?
So under 12s, I used to bowl, keep, bowl. That was how I did it. I remember opening the bowling one day, taking a hat trick, going in and keeping and coming back and taking a fifer. So that was when I was quite young. But no, so there's a bit of a running joke with my brother and a couple of his mates up there that I've never actually scored 100 on the Central Coast.
Oh,
so
really?
I played 4 years of cricket in men's cricket, played all my junior cricket on the coast, didn't score 100. So I was always that typical keeper, though.
Yeah.
As you mentioned at the start, bit of it with the Thunder. Like I batted 7 and 8 when I was on the coast as well. So I was always just the guy that had pretty good gloves that could bat a little bit. And it wasn't until I really moved to Sydney that things started to change in that regard. I wouldn't say I was the Steve Smiths or Phil Hughes. They were the two guys that came through my age group that were just the unbelievable cricketers that everyone knew from my age group. I definitely wasn't those kind of guys. They were scoring 200s, 300s for fun. I was just the steady cricketer that I guess thankfully got asked to come down to Sydney and got a crack. It's funny looking back at your early career now, and I never used to believe it back then, but one of my coaches on the coast said that I would get better with the better competition. So I was that kind of cricketer. I would kind of adapt to what was around me, and looking back, I guess you could say that's probably how I describe myself now. I probably adapted to what's around me, and probably the reason why I did eventually get to make it to first class level.
Yeah, so you mentioned all the guns with the batting and everything. Did you, once you realised you moved to Sydney, did you really have to work on your batting to try and progress to that next step? Because obviously the keeper has developed these days and everyone who's a keeper really needs to bat as well. So did you have to work really hard at that?
Yeah, it was, I think the second or third game of second grade in Sydney, we played Mossman up at Bon Andrews Oval, number 2 oval up at North Sydney. And I remember Mossman would have only got 110, 109 maybe. And I was down to bat 5 at the time. So I was pretty excited to go and bat 5 and kind of have my first taste of batting in the top order.
Yep.
Due to some circumstances, I ended up batting 10. And I ended up coming in at 8 for 50 something. I'd batted 10. And then we lost another wicket, and one of my best mates now, Nick Bills, batted 11. And that was probably the first time that it proved to myself that I need to be a batter. I remember getting 70-odd not out at 10, and Billsy got 20-odd not out. We won. But it was the first time that I thought, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to just have people push me down purely because they can. There was nothing to say that I could bat. There was nothing to say that I should have batted 5. They were just giving me a go. So, look, I probably would have done it too. I'm a captain now, and if I see someone like me in the team and I really need to win, we're struggling, they're just tactics in it. So it was probably that day that I thought, yeah, I need to learn how to bat long periods of time. I think I used to be the guy that wanted to hit the ball pretty hard. Back in that day, I thought, if I hit 6s, that's my job at 7 or 8. So, yeah, that was really the turning point for me. But as you say, I think Adam Gilchrist revolutionised wicket keepers for everyone. It wasn't just Ian Healy's who, don't get me wrong, Ian Healy's still a fantastic batter. He scored test hundreds, but he wasn't renowned for his batting. Like he was renowned for his wicket keeping, and he was one of the best, if not the best, gloveman that we've had. So yeah, when Adam Gilchrist kind of revolutionised wicket keeping in that early 2000s, I think that's when it became, if you can bat and you can catch them, it's a bonus, rather than if you're the best gloveman and you can bat, it's a bonus.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to your Sydney Thunder career and batting number 7, 8, so it's pretty much been a consistent thing throughout your career. One thing I want to know from a personal level, I know when I get pushed down the order in a match where you really think it's your time to shine, do you get, I don't want to say get annoyed, but like in yourself, are you like, I can do this, I can save the game for the guys? Is it frustrating constantly getting pushed down the order when you know you got the ability?
Yeah, a little bit. I was okay though at the Thunder because I had a role, which was clearly kind of spaced out to me, which is not everyone gets that. I think it's a lot of people say, okay, you batted 7, 8. So were you not considered in one of the top 7 or 8 batters? But I don't think the two coaches that I had at Thunder, Shane Bond and Paddy Upton, they gave me clear roles, and I was the guy to come in late to clear the fence. That was my role because I knew that I could hit sixes late. So that's specifically where I batted. And the lineups of teams that I played with at the Thunder, I actually opened in a trial in BBL 8, I reckon it was, against the Melbourne Stars down at Albury in Lavington Oval, in Albury. And I think I was 65 not out off the 20 overs and we won the match. And so after that, I kind of got promoted a little bit. There was a couple of times during the Big Bash that I was going to open if we batted first kind of thing. Like it's a very tactical game, as you know, and as majority of the guys that are listening to this probably know, T20 is so tactical these days. So there was times that if we batted first, I was going to open. Unfortunately, that never happened. I did bat 4 in a Big Bash game, though, which was awesome because I got the bat in the power play. That's where I'm used to batting. For Manly, that's where I've kind of always batted in T20 cricket and club cricket. And that was one of my better innings. I think it was 23 or 24, if not many. Hit Dwayne Bravo for back-to-back sixes, got the bat with Shane Watson. Like that was kind of, it settled me down a little bit in the Big Bash and it made me realise that I probably did belong here with the bat, not just the gloves. And I guess it showed because they signed me again after that year. That was the last game of the year. So they signed me after that. So, yeah, the Thunder, I knew my role. Although there's times where I would have loved to have batted higher, obviously, because I'm a kind of as a top order batter. But yeah, I definitely knew my role at Thunder. Probably from a club cricket perspective, since moving to Manly, I've always been a senior player, I guess you could say. So I've actually felt the need to manipulate myself from a team point of view more. Obviously, I'd love to bat 3 everywhere. That's just where I'd love to bat. But when you've got Jack Edwards, Ollie Davies, Joel Davies coming through, like these guys, they're the next generation. So as much as we want them at Manly, when they're playing for Manly, they need to bat high. They need to bat in the top 4 or 5 to prove themselves because they're some of the best cricketers in the state. So, yeah, I've fluctuated a little bit with where I bat in the last couple of years at Manly, which is fine with me. It's just about knowing my role that day.
Obviously, we've seen Ollie Davies light up the BBL just the summer just gone. So it's really good to see a senior player, senior captain accommodating for players like that because we know there's clubs out there where the older players are constantly blocking the talent coming through. And this is why certain players move clubs and stuff like that, I guess. Playing in a system like that, if you were younger with the talent you have now, do you think your career would have been different? So say if you were turning 20 instead of turning 30, do you think your career would have panned out different?
Yeah, probably. I was late to the professional scene anyway. I was 23 when I got my first contract. Well, Ollie's still got 3 years before he gets to 23. So yeah, I was 23 when I got my first contract. Didn't really learn how to play first-class cricket until I was 25, and then at 25 when I debuted, I was probably still a bit naive and a bit immature for first-class level, and then got my second crack at one-day cricket for New South Wales when I was 28. So that was probably the peak of when I actually got it. I understood what was happening, and obviously my Big Bash career spanned from when I was 27 through to 29, 30. So yeah, if I had the knowledge, I guess, not necessarily. I think I always had the ability. I just probably didn't know how to express it when I was a younger player. But if I had the knowledge and kind of the game sense about how to go it, yeah, I think my career would have been a little bit different. In saying that, though, I don't think I'd change my career. I know statistically it only says 20 games, 4 one-day games and 3 first-class games. But I had to do it a little bit differently to what some have. As I said, I didn't get picked in an under-19 Central Coast team. There's kids out here that are getting picked in under-19 New South Wales teams, and if they don't make the rookie squad the next year, then they feel like their cricket's over, which it just isn't. So I'm proud of what I've done in that regard. But yeah, who knows? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But I guess that's my role now. Is I'm working at Cricket New South Wales as a coach education specialist. So I guess that's what I can pass on now, and what I like to pass on at Manly as well is about my experience. And look, you can play. Michael Kling is a great example. He played till he's 30, 36, 35 with 1 T20 game for Australia. One of the greatest first-class cricketers going around. So there's plenty of examples out there. But yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I certainly wouldn't change my my career and what I've achieved.
Yeah, definitely. What's it like playing with all the names you've been mentioning? Michael Klinger, Dan Christian, Dwayne Bravo. What's it like, and how did it influence you in cricket?
Yeah, I think it's once when you get into that scene and when you take away the name and it's just another game of cricket, it certainly helps. I remember walking into my first game. I remember getting told that I was going to play for Thunder. It's unfortunately, little Jakey Doran was keeping before me. He was a keeper before me, and it was a game at Spotless Stadium or home showgrounds, whatever it's called these days. We played the Brisbane Heat, and I was running drinks. One of the better drinks runners, mind you, for the Sydney Thunder. I was did that quite a lot, but I was running drinks, and Chris Lynn got the Heat over the line, and we dropped a few catches. Shane Watson dropped the catch. Jakey unfortunately dropped the catch, and a couple others dropped the catch, and I just remember kind of having this weird feeling that night because I got the tap on the shoulder from the coach because we're playing at the Wacker the next week, and he's like, "You're playing." And it was the first time I've ever been told that being tall as a keeper was an advantage. So the reason I made my debut was because we're playing at the Wacker and he wanted someone tall to keep. So I guess that week was bizarre because it was New Year's Day that I debuted in 2017 over in the Wacker. And I remember walking the sheds and I had Shane Watson sitting next to me, and he kind of made this, I don't know if he intentionally did it, but he put me next to him and he said, "You're going to sit here for the rest of the Big Bash." And I kind of thought to myself, no, I'm not, because we play at the showgrounds, like being a bit of a smart ass. But then I thought, oh, he wants me to sit next to him for like the whole journey in the Thunder. So that was kind of a bit of a relief. It was like Shane Watson's taking me under his wing in a sense to calm me down a little bit. But yeah, I remember walking out the Wacker, and I think Sean Marsh opened with Michael Klinger that day. We got Klinger out early, and Ian Bell walked in. I thought, oh, how good's this? Like, Ian Bell's got one of the best cover drives going around. And then, yeah, Ian Bell ran past one for me on debut, which was nice. But, yeah, playing with, I think it's when you take the name away from the guys that you're actually playing against, that you're just playing a game of cricket, and, yeah, it just becomes another game of cricket, yeah. Regardless of whether you see them every week on TV, it's just another game of cricket. But it's certainly hard to overcome to start, especially when you're at the Wacker. And look, crowds were a thing of the past, but there were some hostile guys at the Wacker.
I guess speaking about like all them type of players, was there anyone that got you absolutely starstruck?
I think I remember that the game I mentioned before where I batted 4 against the Renegades, they had Bravo and Pollard. Probably wasn't starstruck as much, but geez, they were intimidating on the field. Like, they just walk around with such confidence.
Yeah,
they have this they have this aura. They stand up with their chest out. They walk around. They kind of they might, yes, they're two of the better cricketers ever to play the T20 game, especially. They might necessarily have you on the day, but I think they know that they get in your head a little bit, especially the less experienced guys. Andre Russell, no, that was pretty cool. So my debut at the Wacker, Andre Russell and Pat Cummings, they were the two guys I was keeping to at the Wacker, and I was literally taking balls on the ring. I was keeping on the ring. So they were, yeah, that was probably the biggest starstruck moment was, holy crap, I'm keeping to Pat Cummins and Andre Russell, and I've turned around and fine legs 15 metres away from me, and the batter's 45 metres away from me.
Okay, I guess let's move on from that. You came on to the scene in 2015-ish. That was just a little bit after the Phil Hughes tragedy. I guess you were around the system during that time. How did that really affect the players around you and affect cricket? Because I know, just as not a casual fan, a diehard fan of cricket, that impacted me so much, like more than any death I've witnessed in my life, really. It was such a dark period for cricket. Like, I played park cricket that weekend, and there was spray painting all over the field saying Phil Hughes 408. How did that impact your colleagues in the cricket world, and how did that impact cricket, do you think?
Oh, it was obviously shocking. It was just so. It was. I was actually there. Mickey Edwards and I were at the ground on the day, just sitting in the crowd because we were training, and we just went down to the SCG just to watch it. It's kind of one of those moments that you obviously want to try and forget, but you just never forget because it was just eerie. It was just an eerie feeling around the ground. No one really knew what had happened, and then all of a sudden, obviously, you hear things, and it was such a tough period. How some of those guys got through it, like Sean Abbott, he's been a teammate, he's been a mate, and how he got through that, how he did, was just incredible. Like to get back on and play cricket and deal with it how he did and handle it. Like he had, as you can imagine, there's people out there that say the worst things ever, and he just handled that incredibly. So did all of them, really. Anyone that was on the field. It was tough. It was a tough few months, rest of the year. Like it was something that's never going to go away. Not that that's what you want to say. You don't want to say, I just wish it would go away, but it's something that always kind of comes back up. And it took a lot of the boys a lot of time to really get back on their feet.
I still, as a diehard fan, I still think about it so often, and it comes up in my head like just very often. So I can't imagine what you guys went through being there and the people on the field, and hats off to Sean Abbott to be able to get through that, because that's something where you don't blame him if he gives up, because like it's definitely not his fault or anything, but it's just traumatizing. Even the people on the field, like how you can go through that and coming back to play cricket after that, when the New Zealand and I think it was New Zealand and England or New Zealand and India, they played a couple of days after that, and it just didn't feel right at all, didn't it?
No, there was. To be honest with you, I don't think it felt right for a while. I remember I was playing for Manly that year, just a couple of days after it, and it was obviously everything was suspended. We were playing Hawkesbury down here at Manly Oval, and I don't really think anyone wanted to play. Like it just, as you say it, regardless whether you were there, you're playing, or whether you're just a cricket tragic, it just took everyone by shock. Like it just completely took everyone. It took everyone aback, and I think it took quite a while for people to actually not. I don't think people didn't want to play cricket, but I think it was just that time where everyone just needed to relax and just sit back and go, what's happened here? Like this is surreal. So it was a very tough time for a lot of boys. Obviously, I could sit here and say it was a tough time for me, but some of the guys that were playing that knew him so well, it was tough to see them go through what they went through.
Yeah, absolutely terrible, and I think he'll be in our thoughts forever. I guess we'll move on from the depression of this conversation, but I guess we'll go to a bit of a lighter situation. What's been your funniest memory throughout cricket?
Funniest memory? A lot of them happen off the field, obviously. Like
obviously.
But as you know, though, like you create mates for life in cricket. I know it's a bit of a cliche term, but that's just what happens. Like you create all your mates through cricket, and cricket all of a sudden becomes a bit of a, oh crap, we're playing cricket on the weekend together as well. Like that, and that's kind of what you want. Like that's the way that you want to play. Is you want to play with your mates all the time. One of the funnier things that's ever happened on the field, playing first game of grade cricket in Sydney, actually, North Sydney versus Manly, of all teams. We played Manly. One of the older guys playing for Manly at the time in second grade got hit in what everyone sees as the funny side of things, unless you're that person at the time. And it actually split him.
Oh,
it was quite bad. Yeah. So should have a bit of a viewer discretion before this story, but it actually split him, and he was taken off quite quickly. And all the umpire said was he walked over, had a sneaky look out of one eye, and said, "Oh, well, mop it up, mate. Here we go again." As this guy's in absolute agony. So that was one of the weirder, more disgusting, but funnier things that's ever happened on a field. Look, I could probably think of 50 others as I come up, but that one's always been in my memory of, okay, this is what cricket's like in Sydney, is it? This is a bit, I know I've played cricket on the Central Coast and everyone's a bit rogue up there, but this is what cricket's going to be like in Sydney. It was almost a bit of all right, playing a man's game now. Like, this is when the umpire's telling you to, all right, up you get, mop it up, see you later.
There are a few rogue people and rare units in the Sydney grade cricket area. Who do you think is the rarest unit you know, and why is it AJ Isherwood?
AJ Isherwood. See, I've only played a couple of games against AJ, and he's been pretty good. Certainly heard some stories. I think cricket just attracts rare blokes, doesn't it? Like, some people probably think I'm a rare unit at times. I think most wicket keepers are rare units. Like, if I walked in, I had no idea about cricket. I saw the way that I put my dressing room together. Geez, I'd have serious concerns about me. There's gloves numbered, there's everything. But look, there's a couple of guys out there that are hilarious. Like Stephen O'Keefe, he's hilarious to play with. He's one of the most competitive guys I've ever played with. That's why he's been so successful, is how competitive he is in his nature. But, geez, he's funny to play with. Like, he's sometimes he borderlines going over the top, but he always seems to bring it back and give everyone a laugh. He's certainly not the rarest that I've seen, though.
I've heard a bit about him and heard some interviews with him, and he's not a rare unit. He's just a funny bloke.
He's so funny. He's just funny. He's full of energy, full of life. Probably the best thing that happened to Manly last year is that Sock committed all year to playing for Manly. Like, seriously, he got through. Like, he's a bit older than me, and he showed last year how good he is in the Big Bash still. Like, he absolutely dominated the Big Bash. So, but he's the kind of guy that I reckon win at all costs kind of used to be the way he got through it, and that's why he played Test cricket for Australia, because he was so good at how competitive he was. And he admits that he didn't have the attributes, he didn't have the skills, but he worked so hard to be so good for it. But last year he was just so good around the group. Like, you got a Test cricketer in there that wants to go down and bowl with you on a Tuesday at 4:00. Like, not many people do that.
Yeah,
it's simple as that. So, yeah, he's probably one of the funnier guys. And most competitive cricketers I've played with. It's actually, you sit there and as a captain, I didn't know how to deal with it. I kind of just said, all right, Sock, when you're bowling, you run the show. I think that was the best way for everyone, really. Like, it was, a couple of people said, oh, who captains this side, Sock or you? I said, well, I do, but Sock does when he bowls, because it's not like I'm going to tell Stephen O'Keefe that I'm going to set his fields. Like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. So no more rare units on the grade cricket scene that we could keep an eye out for?
Mate, look, you could probably say that I'll call Hads one of the rarest units. Hads certainly isn't. There's a couple of boys out there, I think, some interesting things that go on, but look, I'm a bit past that now, so I just kind of laugh at them.
All right. I guess speaking about rare units, I wanted to bring this up. How much does My Cricket Stats deal with social status? So I know there was a guy who, one of our mates, Timmy, he's actually coming first in Supercoach at the moment. He was complaining about some guy that was giving him grief. You actually went and looked at his My Cricket Stats, and I think he averaged about 9, and you screenshotted it and sent it to us. How much of a social status does My Cricket play?
I reckon 5-6 years ago, absolutely zero. But since the introduction of the grade cricketer, what an unbelievable forum the grade cricketer is. So since the grade cricketers come in, I think My Cricket Stats is, as he mentioned, sometimes it's more important than the old man sending him a text message to say, well done. The grade cricketer, he's been brilliant over these Olympics. If you don't follow the grade cricketer, I suggest that you do. And if you're a cricket nut, I think every cricket nut would. But yeah, I think the grade cricketer certainly brought back My Cricket as one of the top echelons of living your life.
they've definitely peeled back the surface of every single cricketer ever, whether you're a park cricketer or a grade cricketer. It really point out things that you just don't realise you're doing in cricket.
Oh yeah, they certainly do. I think there was a tweet the other day about there's all the emotions of seeing all these Olympians and their parents and everything crying when they win medals. And I think he said, I got a beat out off 15 the other day and I couldn't even get a response from my dad. And just little things like that. You just laugh about it. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's very good. I guess let's move on from cricket. We'll finish up quickly. Your wife. How did you meet her?
Yep.
And how has that changed your life? Obviously, you've got a kid.
Yeah. So Gem's from the Central Coast as well. My wife Gemma. So we kind of knew each other. I actually met her in school, but didn't really talk to her until out of school. Yep. One of those ones. And we've just been together from the Central Coast for quite a while now. She made the move to Sydney with me all those years ago the first couple of years she stayed back and forth on the coast, but then made the move to Sydney and got married in 2019 up in Byron. Again, surrounded by a lot of those mates that you play cricket with and still do. Now we have a beautiful little daughter, 16 months old now. Geez, lockdown's got us.
Wow.
16 months old and little Miller. So she's, if we get out of lockdown alive all together with a little 16-month-old running around, we'll certainly know that we're good. We're good for a while. But so Gem's been a huge part of obviously cricket for me as well. She made the move down to Sydney, basically to follow my dream of playing a sport in Australia, which doesn't really pay much when you're on the lower end of the professional side. But she works now down here. She's made a successful career for herself down here in early childhood centres as well. So she directs a lot of child care centres in Sydney, which is great because it means I can send Miller off whilst everyone's in lockdown. She can go to school.
Yeah, that's very similar to what my wife does as well. She's in childcare as well. What's your go-to order at your favourite restaurant?
Go-to order at favourite. I tell you what, this really shows how rare cricketers are. So first 100 against North Sydney. I remember Simon Taufel, a great umpire for Australia. I remember listening in I used to work for the umpires of cricket, so we're listening at in an event one day, and he said, make routines a thing. And he kind of made mention that if you had a good day, what'd you eat the night before? What'd you have for breakfast? What'd you do? Things like that. Just stuck with me a little bit because it's something that I like, a bit of routine. So first 100 last year against North Sydney. I remember it was late on a Friday night and we hadn't eaten, so we just got Uber Eats or Deliveroo or whatever it was. We got a peri-peri chicken crust pizza with garlic herb squares as like an entree between Gemma and I, and scored the 100 and then had leftovers on the Saturday night. So essentially had it for dinner again, scored 100 the next day in Newcastle. So and then the next Friday had it again on Friday night, scored 100 the next day, and then the Friday after that had it again on that night, scored 100. It ran its course, scored 400s in a row, and it ran its course over the fourth week, and I only got 50 odd, so I stopped it after that. But I'd have to say it was the peri-peri chicken and garlic squares that got me going for a little bit.
Only 50 odd, which stopped the run.
It did, mate. It stopped it, yeah. To be honest, I just couldn't keep eating pizza. There was some nights there that I just didn't really feel like pizza before cricket, but I felt like I had to.
Oh, God. Okay, I've got another question here. I asked you this yesterday. What's your favourite song? And you said Dreams by Fleetwood Mac is one of your favourites at the moment.
Yep. Dead.
Oh, geez.
Someone's gone. Yeah.
So, yep, so Dreams.
Yeah, Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Probably... what else did I have? I don't mind Give Me the Beat Boys by Doobie Gray. I think it's not called that. It's called something else. Might be just Give Me the Beat Boys. That's a good song.
So,
a bit of old school stuff.
So I've got the instrumental for Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. Do you want to try and sing along to it?
Oh, I don't know if I can sing along to it. I'm absolutely no good.
It was actually, I was listening to the instrumental before and I'm like, there could have not been a worse song to pick because it's not a sing-along song, but...
no, it's really not. Oh, God.
Yeah, let's see your singing skills.
I'm not going to sing. I do know the words, though, I think. Yeah, I think it starts like, now, here we go. Definitely not. Get me on the guy in the grape. I need the grapefruit juice, like the guy on TikTok.
All right. Now I guess before we end, is there anything that I haven't asked that I should have asked?
Probably. I'm glad that you didn't ask where I'm sitting on Supercoach because I'm a little bit lower than I thought this year. But no, look, it's been great to chat, mate. It's great to reflect on. And I keep saying it. I'm pretty old now, I'm 30, but it's great to reflect on the achievements that I've managed. It's not often that you get to sit down and chat about it, and it's certainly something I'm proud of. I know I haven't played 50, 60 tests and I haven't played 100 first-class games, but I'm capped 737 for New South Wales, and that's something that no one's ever going to take away from me. So it's a pretty proud moment as I'm sitting here and watching Ariane Titmus get a gold medal and thinking that maybe when I was 10 years old, that's what I thought I was going to do. So. Yeah, it's been good, mate. Very good.
I guess looking back and reflecting on the career, that not your average cricket fan might not know you, but the diehard cricket fan, and there's plenty out there, they'll know you. They'll look back at the story and know that it's one worth listening to. I think every cricketing journey is worth listening to, whether you haven't made it at all. I guess a lot of the time we only hear the successful stories and we want to hear the average. I'm not saying you're average, but like there's much more average stories out there. So to be able to at least scratch the surface and play a few big bash matches and first class matches, it's a great achievement.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And look, I hear this saying a lot in cricket. There's probably 50 guys out there that have the talent and ability to play for Australia, or there's probably 100 that could play first class cricket. But I guess it's other things it can be a bit of luck sometimes. It can be what's between your ears as well that really gets you to that next level. So, yeah, it's first class cricketer that didn't play a lot of first class cricket, but 10 years or probably more, 15 years of effort have gone into it. And I think someone said it to me once, the average professional athlete in Australia has a 6 to 8 year professional career. And you put 6 to 8 years in a life of 80 years, it's only a small part of your life. So it's an interesting kind of stat when you think about it like that you've been so dedicated to a sport for the majority of your life. That's coming more to an end, and you're only 30 and you've got so much more to look forward to. So if I can provide any advice for anyone that may be listening to this out there, just remember that. Remember to enjoy everything else whilst you're doing it. You're going to be a professional if you become a professional majority of your 20s. That's some of your best times of your life. So enjoy what comes with being a professional cricketer if you make it, but also enjoy other things outside of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and, work hard and be a good bloke. And you've got a job on the other side of it as well with Cricket New South Wales. So that's really dealt in your favour. So being a good bloke and just helping where you can will definitely get you far. And we can tell you're a very good bloke, and it's why you've got to where you are.
No, thank you, mate. Much appreciated. And yeah, working for Cricket New South Wales. So any coaches out there that might be listening to this, I'm your guy in Cricket New South Wales at the moment. Come to me. I
think Emu Plains Under 8s is looking for a coach, so I'll send them.
I'll get someone.
I'll send them your way. All right, thanks for coming on, and that's episode 1 of the Sporting Experience podcast. Thank you for coming on.
No, thanks, guys. Thank you so much, Sabs, for having me. Episode 1, it's exciting that I've got the number 1 next to my name there, but I'm sure you're going to attract some incredible sports people, and I really hope you do. So good luck with it, mate.
I've already got some decent people lined up, so and I've got some not decent people lined up. So I think it's gonna be a very good journey. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for being the first episode. I couldn't have thought of anyone better. So cheers for that.
Awesome. Thanks, mate.